Hey there, cats and kittens, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today I'm very happy to bring you issue number 76, Big Barda. And this is yet another female hero in the line. Thank goodness we don't have nearly enough females in this series, in my humblest of opinions. And another new god, which is really cool. I'm a big fan of Jack Kirby, of course Jack Kirby, the writer-artist who created all of the new god characters and the Fourth World series of comic books for DC. If you know Big Barda, chances are you know her from the Justice League animated series and Justice League Unlimited, where she appeared on a few episodes, I do believe. She also appeared in the animated movie Superman Batman Public Enemies and had a really great role in that. If you want to see Big Barda in action, that is the film to pick up. And more recently, she's appeared on, I think, an episode or two of Batman the Brave and the Bold. As for Big Barda herself, she is a new god, which makes her near invulnerable, near immortal, super strong, although she is even stronger than most. She, of course, grew up on the evil planet of Apocalypse, but we'll cover all of that in the magazine, which we'll look at first, and it'll tell us everything we want to know about Big Barda here, and then we'll look at the figure itself, covering the good, bad, and the ugly. It really is a great figure, one of my favorites in the series, to be totally honest with you. Probably one of the best females in the entire series as well, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy issue number 76 in the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, Big Barda. First up, the character section. Which is where we meet a girl named Barda, who's part of an alien race known as the New Gods, a group of near-immortal, super-powerful beings. Barda was born on the planet Apocalypse, and, as is customary there, was taken from her parents at a very young age to be raised in one of the government's orphanages, under the watchful eye of the evil Granny Goodness. As the years passed, Barda excelled in her training, quickly rising to the level of lieutenant within the female Furies, and was given the task of tracking down a rogue Fury that had once been her apprentice, a girl named Orelai, who had been apparently conspiring with rebels on the planet Apocalypse. Barda's encounter with Scott-Free and Himen had her questioning her loyalties. Her resolve was further shaken after returning to Darkseid's palace and finding Orelai, her one-time apprentice, murdered at the hands of Darkseid's chief interrogator. Barda switched sides and actually helped Scott-Free escape from the planet Apocalypse using a boom tube to travel across the galaxy to the planet Earth. Barda chose to stay behind in order to help the rebels on Apocalypse fight against her former comrades. A few years later, and Scott-Free is now known as Mr. Miracle, escape artist extraordinaire on Earth, doing shows around the world. It was during one of these performances that Big Barda suddenly appeared via boom tube looking for Scott-Free. She, of course, was unaware that he was now an escape artist known as Mr. Miracle, and, believing her friend to be in danger, sprung into action. Barda was even incorporated into the show as Mr. Miracle's strong woman. Proving to be nearly inseparable, the couple joined with the Justice League International together and were also made reserve members of the Justice League of America. That's not to say they do everything together. Barda did join up with a Women's Wrestling Federation League for a short time, and she also became a member of the Birds of Prey. The last couple pages bring us up to speed with the character, at least at the time of this publication, and we find that someone is murdering the New Gods, including Big Barda, who was gunned down in her own home. It was eventually revealed that the Source, the creator of the New Gods, was the one killing them off, so that he might recreate them yet again, and this time Barda was born on the planet New Genesis, a hero from the very start. Next, we look at a couple of Barda's classic stories. First up, we look at Mr. Miracle Volume 1, Number 4. And this is Big Barda's introduction into the DC Universe as depicted by legendary writer-artist Jack Kirby. And it establishes her, it gives her origin story. We see her traveling to Earth, looking for her one-time friend Scott Free, who is now known as Mr. Miracle, and over the course of events, she ends up joining up with him, helping him defeat one of Darkseid's evil generals known as Dr. Bedlam, and eventually switching sides, becoming a hero, staying on Earth, and traveling with him as a part of his show. It's a great introduction to the character, and well worth checking out. We also have Action Comics, issues 592 and 593. And at the opening of this story, we learn that Barda is now living in Metropolis with her husband, Mr. Miracle, when she has her purse snatched. As she's chasing the thief through Suicide Slum, she bumps into a villain from Apocalypse known as Sleaze, who uses his mental powers to quickly take over her mind. He forces her to become his private dancer and slave girl. He also eventually enslaves the Man of Steel and begins to shoot questionable videotapes with the pair when her husband, Mr. Miracle, heroically arrives in the nick of time to save the powerful pair. Now free of Sleaze's control, Superman, Barda, and Mr. Miracle apprehend the villain and send him back to Darkseid on Apocalypse. Barda's Friends and Foes features the villainous ruler of Apocalypse, Darkseid, friend and ally Superman, and teammates, the Birds of Prey. And finally, the Iconography section takes a closer look at Granny Goodness and the evil female Furies. It takes a closer look at the woman who Darkseid has put in charge of selecting and training the female Furies, the evil Granny Goodness. It also takes a closer look at the training facilities Granny Goodness uses and the conditions in which the female Furies live. Next, it looks at some of the Furies individually, including the villainous Mad Harriet, the super powerful Stompa, the wielder of whips known as Lashina, and another rogue Fury known as Knockout. Here we have Big Barda, or Barda for short, a really fantastic figure. I love this one. She is probably one of the best in the series. She's definitely one of the best females, if not the best female. She's up there with Power Girl. She's up there as far as detail goes with Scarecrow and Hawkman and some of the most highly detailed figures in the line, Detective Chimp. Her armor, you can see, is even plated a little bit there, like chainmail. It's really great. Something that's not coming through very well is the yellow here on her costume. All the yellow bits, it's sort of a pearlescent yellow, so it looks like it's this armored material. It's great. Love her helmet. It's gigantic, as you can see, and it's so well detailed. You can see all the little ridges. There are ridges on these little antennae type of things. All of these gold pieces are beveled and raised off of her, and the cape is fantastic. It's big, it's billowing behind her. I love how it's folding on itself in some places, all the way down to the boots and her little skirt and everything. I love her belt too. I don't know why, I just think it's a really cool looking belt. And the underside of the cape, as you can see, is also a slightly darker shade of red, which helps all these bright colors pop. She's really great. She's also a pretty attractive figure, all the way to the mega rod in her hand, which you'll see better in the next section, but it's got some good detail on it too. Really fantastic figure. I like her a lot. I'm a fan of the New Gods as well, so any addition to them is fantastic in my book. I really like her. Talk a little bit more about her with some better pictures in a moment. Barda stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of her base features her name and serial number. And so you can compare her. Here she is in a group shot with the rest of the birds of prey. A shot with her husband, Mr. Miracle, taking on the evil new god, Darkseid. And one more big group shot with all of the members of the Justice League International they've released so far. Big Barda is a great figure. She is a welcome addition to the line. I love having another female figure. There aren't nearly enough, in my opinion, in this series, and the detail on her is exquisite. Not only is she probably one of the best females, but she's probably one of the best figures overall. We'll begin, as always, with the good. Pretty much everything on her, and I think a lot of that has to do with just how interesting she is as a character. Her color palette, her design, and that, of course, is Jack Kirby. He is to blame, in a manner of speaking, for that. She's really exquisite, one of the best in the series. The yellow on her, as you can see on the boots, is a sort of pearlescent yellow. It's not glossy or flat, it's pearlescent, and it gives it this otherworldly sort of feel. It also makes it look like some sort of armor. Same thing goes for the blue. All of the blue has a metallic fleck to it, and it all has that sort of chainmail texture, which I think is a great detail. The cape is really huge and big, and I love the shade of red they used. Great folds, great shading, lots of ruffling. Love the way it looks like it's blowing around. I also love how it comes over her one shoulder since her arm is extending backwards. It's a great detail, the fact that it's sort of pushed to the side that way. Also love her skirt, that little mini skirt thing she has going on. Great detail, nice yellow again, and the belt is just a really cool design. Her upper body too is really cool, and she is built, she's ripped like Power Girl before her. She has this musculature that's really well done, great shadowing, great shading, clean edges as well. And all of the little gold details on her arms and on her legs are beveled and raised, and they have this nice gold metallic fleck of paint. Also, her mega rod is a great detail. Love the way she's extending it. Anytime the character has a weapon or showcases their superpower, I think it's great, so she pulls it off here. And the mega rod itself is really well detailed. Lots of nice little bevels, lots of little switches and gizmos on it. It's cool looking, and I love the fact that you have the barrel down the center on the top of the mega rod. It's just a cool detail. And finally, the head sculpt is really outstanding. You can clearly see her face underneath her big helmet, which is really nicely detailed. She has these blue eyes, nice red lips, and she looks attractive to boot. And then the fact that the helmet is just big and wild and so insanely detailed. Clean paint, all hand painted. Love the ridges on the helmet itself. Love her collar too. There's great detail on the collar, those little red rivets or whatever they are with the black around that collar. It's great. You can see her neck, and it's an attractive looking figure, which I think is really hard to pull off on this scale. In my opinion, she is fantastic. One of the best figures in the series. On to the bad. There's really nothing inherently wrong with this figure. There are just flaws with mine. There is a chip on the cape near the left shoulder, but you know, it just shows it's handcrafted. And also her face has a couple little chips here and there, but it's really nothing that you notice unless you're looking very closely. Finally, the ugly. The things to watch out for on her are those antennae on the helmet and the mega rod that she's holding in her hand. Those are going to be the weakest spots on the figure. Overall, I am delighted with Big Barda here. I think she is a great looking figure. She is attractive and strong at the same time. She's also really huge. I didn't really talk about that, how big she is in scale, which is appropriate. She is a big girl. She's an Amazon. I mean, she's taken on Wonder Woman, for goodness sake. It's always nice to have another Lady Leaguer, especially when we're talking Justice League International. And I love the New Gods, too. I just think they're so dynamic. so colorful, so unique, and anytime they add another new god to this series, I'm always happy about it. Unfortunately, there's only one more to go, and he's only in a few issues too. But Barda here, really fantastic. Nice to have her on the shelf with her husband, Mr. Miracle. Nice to have another new god in general, as I said. And I think if you want one of the best figures in the line, and possibly the best female figure in the line, especially if you're talking just details, Barda here is definitely worth picking up. And I hope you have enjoyed my review of Big Barda here. Please stay tuned for a quick teaser trailer for the next issue in the series. It's another hero, another member of the Batman family, and this character actually took over temporarily as Batman for a while, and it's not Dick Grayson. He is a big fan favorite, though, and a favorite of mine for sure, so please stay tuned for that. As always, I am your host, the MonkeyBoy, aka Jay to his friends. Thanks for watching.